In the heart of Dixie where the eagles fly, land of the brave where the bullets don't lie. We fought for our freedom with guns by our side. Red, white, and blue, our southern pride. Raise the flag high, let freedom ring from the rolling mountains to the flatlands. We sing, no one can take our rights. Our Second Amendment will defend our land with every bullet we send. We were born in the USA, land of the free, with guns in our hands. We'll forever be Southern blood runs deep through our veins. We'll stand tall for America till the end of our days.
Well, hey there. I'm Sully, and as always, welcome into the Gun Club. Got a couple of interesting stories we're going to be covering tonight. We're back to one big story, a couple of little segments of it. But before we get started, I want to give a couple of quick public service announcements. Number one, please keep the folks out in California in your thoughts and prayers. If you can do something to contribute to some of the disaster relief organizations out there, something else, they are dealing with an absolute literal firestorm out there. It's not pretty. I've been following that a bunch. And literally, a lot of human incompetence combined with a lot of Mother Nature. And they mixed up just in the right chemical reaction. And, I think right now they're saying there's, few thousand homes destroyed, businesses destroyed, schools destroyed, communities literally leveled. They've had, I believe, 10 to 12 fatalities so far that I've heard, and that number, unfortunately, is likely to rise. The devastation is just unbelievable, and, regardless of what we may be dealing with in our everyday life that we see as devastating and everything else, imagine you left the house right now with nothing but the clothes you have on your back, what you have in your wallet, and an armful of belongings, and came back to ashes. Possibly lost pets, livestock, possibly lost vehicles, loved ones, your firearms collection. Yeah, that's devastating. Fire is nothing to be played with or messed with, and it's it's leveling a lot. And so definitely keep those folks in your thoughts. Yeah, that's one of those things that I guess fire would be one of the great equalizers in a lot of ways because it doesn't care. You can be a multi-millionaire like we saw James Woods online talking about what all he's lost. And it's gone. James Woods, as famous as he is, home is gone. Everything's gone. On the other side of the coin, you may be just John Q. Public, living in a small, manageable house, making your mortgage payments, trying to stay in a decent school district in Palisades for the sake of your kids, to send them to a good school instead of a not so good school. And you're coming back and your stuff, your family stuff, your kids' stuff's gone. It's devastating, and it's going to be a long time to recover from. And again, as we talk about that, we also can never forget, the people not only there, but I'll just say, Swannanoa, Western North Carolina, that area, definitely. I see we got a couple pictures here. Mary, welcome in. It's 8:30. Do you know where your Sully is? Yeah. Oh, don't we wish we all knew where our Sully was. I was actually checking the weather a little bit because for those of y'all who don't know, I'm working tomorrow, so I've got to go in at 0700, which was about, a little while from now, about 10 hours from now. And for those of us in the Southeast, If you've got snow and ice and nasty, wet, and slippery stuff on the roads, how about staying home tomorrow, please? Those of us who work in the emergency services, we don't want to meet by accident. We don't want to have to pull you out of a ditch. We don't want to have to tell you your car is flipped and totaled. We don't want to have to, you know, pick you up off the side of the road if you're walking and someone, you know, slides their car into you. It's, bad things happen in this stuff. Cars are about 2,000 pounds, and if you can't control them and you have no traction, you meet other cars, trees, trains. Yeah, we've seen it. We don't want you sliding into our ambulance either. So, hey, we'd appreciate that. Oh, let's see. We have Garage Guy popping into the chat. Welcome aboard, sir. Not sure you've been here before, but if you haven't, welcome to the Gun Club. Glad to have you on board with us. We're having a little bit of discussion tonight. We're going to be talking about nationwide concealed carry. Now, if those of y'all think back right after the election a few months ago, I said that was one of my number ones on the list. I wanted, yay, nationwide concealed carry. And it only makes sense, truthfully. If you have a driver's license from North Carolina and you drive to South Carolina, your license is still good. Well, how about if you have a driver's license from New York and you drive to Michigan, your license is still accepted. If you're traveling through Delaware, your license is still accepted. So why not your firearms permits? Those require classes, training, everything. Why not our concealed carry be accepted by other states? If you look simply in the legal side of it, we have that full faith and credit thing in the Constitution, which basically says that at the time it was signed, each of the 13 states, we now have a few more, but, well, yeah, the full faith and credit clause. And Garage Guys, see where you're going. Yeah, California and New York will hit hard. Yeah, I agree. They're not going to be happy about it. I get that. But on the other side of the coin, for those people who live, say, in Georgia or Texas, they willingly accept perfectly a New York driver's license. They'll accept a California marriage certificate. If all states are supposed to grant full faith and credit to documents from other states, why is this one document such a big deal? I mean, imagine if trucking companies out of California, if their licenses and their tags were no longer good in any other state. That wouldn't make sense. What a mess that would be. Trucks would have to figure out what states would accept their licenses. Truck drivers would have to look at maps and figure what route they could take that was able to get away. Well, guess what? No, not quite. They can go anywhere, any of the 50 states. Wouldn't it be nicer? Wouldn't it be simpler if all states accepted each other's permits? Now, at one point, I know permits were very rare, but we've currently got 29 states that have constitutional carry, no permit required. Their state says, hey, if you're here, the Constitution's your permit. They issue permits. I mean, South Carolina's got constitutional carry where I'm at, but we also will issue permits because constitutional carry doesn't apply in North Carolina. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't pass a logic test. Well, we're going to get into tonight to a little bit of discussion about that because there have been proposals in the House of Representatives and in the Senate, and we're going to go over those a little bit and look at those. But before we do that, I've got one other little public service announcement. I know there are people out there among us who enjoy or carry firearms, whether we do it because we enjoy it, whether we feel the need to, whether we do it for personal safety, protect ourselves, whatever reason it is. Well, okay, we carry our firearms. And some people will wear a holster, an inside the waistband holster, somewhere outside. There's all kinds of holsters for the prettier ones out there. There's all sorts of little purse holsters and things like that they can get. Guys have, executive planning holsters, all kinds of stuff. There are also such things as pocket holsters. Now, why would you need a holster if it's in your pocket? Well, because the pocket holsters are designed to not only keep the gun from printing, protect your clothing from any rough edges on the gun, but most importantly, protect the trigger from being inadvertently activated. Because an inadvertent activation of the trigger in your pocket, well, it may just help you have an unplanned transition of sorts. I mean, let's face it, the last thing you want to be doing is discharging a firearm right down next to Big Jim and the twins and not sure which way the round is going. That could be a bad thing. Yeah, could be a very bad thing. So, what are we dealing with? Well, got some news. This happened. It was a rap. It was an interview of a rapper in a studio, and he is doing the pocket rocket carry. Fine. Well, guess what? Yes, that's right, Mel. They may actually become a nomination for the Darwin Award by removing themselves from the gene pool. That would be a bad day, I think. Well, this gentleman is interviewing on the Mike D show, and he's got a pocket rocket. No, that's a gun in his pocket. He's not just happy to be there. So what happens? Well, he starts fiddling around with the loaded gun in his pocket. And I don't know for certain, but I'd be willing to bet he doesn't have a pocket holster on. Yes, we try here to learn from the misfortunes of others. We're not laughing at him. We're using this for educational content. We're learning here. And that's why it's important to watch this clip at least 2 or 3 times. Because you know what? We can learn something here.
Not and choices we got in life, those were your choices.
Yeah, those were your choices. He made a choice not only to have a loaded gun in his pocket, the trigger kind of unguarded, but yeah, whoops. But that, okay, I see you're talking, you've never had a problem. More power to you. I will tell you, I pocket carry frequently in the summer. I've got a little Ruger LCP 380 I do it with. I can also do it with a Smith Shield. I've actually got pocket holsters for both of them because I don't want anything to accidentally catch a trigger or anything else. I've known of one person who had a firearm loose in her purse at one time, and she went to pull her key ring out, and she had a bunch of key rings all jumbled together, and one of them had managed to get around the key ring, and it discharged right into the seat of her car. She was a little bit upset at that, but yeah, we'll run this one back again and see. Yeah, you can see him digging around. Now you know what to expect, so you know what to watch for. But yeah, boom. Aha, wise man, wise man. Yeah, because yeah, this guy here, he's maybe getting his popped out of the gene pool here. Okay, exactly. Yeah, like I said, Uncle Mike's has them. They're relatively expensive. I think Sticky J. This guy here,
Not
digging around in that pocket.
and choices we got, those were your choices. Who shot who? Somebody got shot?
You good, Lo?
I hope y'all good.
Yeah. He came real close to having a bad day. And you think about it, as much as I'll joke about, okay, yeah, he could have taken out Big Jim and the twins. That would be bad. Truly acknowledge that. We'll go one step further. He's got a femoral artery down there. If he puts one on the femoral artery or nicks that femoral artery, if nobody on that set knows what to do in a combat situation or in a hemorrhage situation, he ain't making it out the door. He's dying right where he sits. You can lose your life in 15 to 30 seconds putting around through that femoral artery. So it's not only you don't want to shoot the cameraman. It's not only you don't want to like put a hole in your good ripped jeans. It's not only you don't want to like appear like a kind of a dumbass on TV. No. Might save your life. Might save the life of someone else. So please, yeah, pocket ulcers. Yay, good thing. They don't cost that much. If you can afford to buy a gun, afford to buy ammo, yeah. Well, I don't know whether he needs to procreate or not, Mel. You can, we can judge that one later. But, and then again, it would be sort of a Darwinist view. So that's why he would be up for a Darwin Award if he had removed himself from the gene pool. But wow, that one definitely is a scary one. It really is because, he could have done wonderful things to himself on that. Let's see. Beyond that, what do we have this evening? Well, a little bit more fun stuff. And I will say fun stuff because this gets into one of those positive days. Bring this up here. This was a bill that was filed in the session of Congress, and it's entitled Bill H.R. 38. I'm going to pull it up on the screen here so you can glance through. Also, for those of y'all who are not familiar, we do have our locals page over on locals.com, and I have put a copy of it over there so anyone who wants to can go check it out and see it and read it for themselves in their entirety. Let's see, I'll give you the address to it. It is, I'll scroll down here. Right over here on our locals page, thegunclub.locals.com. We have put copies of this and the other article that we're going to be going over tonight. Again, I know I read through stuff kind of quickly. I skip around a little bit. So therefore, I wanted to put it up there where you can read it for yourself, peruse it for yourself. Because, folks, I'll be honest with you. The anti-gun bunches out there, they're going to shit a brick if this passes. There are going to be literally states, as was mentioned, California, New York, who are going to be crapping a brick on this one. Because, folks, this one's good. This one's real good. Whoever wrote this, they knew what they were doing. And so we're going to give a big shout out on this one to a Mr. Hudson, who's a Republican out of North Carolina in the House of Representatives. This guy did it right. He single-handedly not only pushed out nationwide concealed carry, but on the side of it, he also took a good shot at mag bans and mag capacity limits, which is another ridiculous thing. If my 15-round capacity or 13-round capacity magazine that I carry for Smith Equalizer, or my 15-round for my Glock 17, is totally legal where I'm sitting, and I cross the state lines and I'm a felon. How about if I accidentally have an empty mag left in a range bag? No weapon, no ammunition, just an empty magazine. Yeah, that's like carrying contraband across the state line. We'll be playing Smokey and the Bandit over an empty mag. No. It's ridiculous. And it's going after a lot of these stupid laws, stupid rules, and trying to fix this problem a bit. They put out this bill. And again, it was put by Representative Hudson out of New York, North Carolina. Sorry, Mr. Hudson. I didn't mean to do that. That's my deepest. And he's got so far 150 co-sponsors. Now, 150 out of 430 isn't a whole heck of a lot. But given the fact it was only put up on the 9th of January, 2023, and we're on the 10th? This is coming quick. These guys are doing right. They're listening to the mandate they got and the push that they got back in November. And he has come out and said, what are we going to do? And he wants to do what his constituents want. And you can glance through here. I'm going to pull up. I'm not going to read the entire list of names. I will say that as we look at it, look for your representatives. Are they one of the co-sponsors? If they are, great. More power to you. Congratulations. If your representatives have not co-sponsored it yet, it's bill number H.R. 38 in the House of Representatives. Tell them get with the program. Tell them, look, full faith and credit. This only makes sense, number one. And number two, the mandate that came down in November, they want to be on the right side of this. They really do. we're going to be keeping score on this one because this makes good sense, good safety, and people, again, I know we'll hear from the New York and the California, OMG, you're making it easier for people to carry guns. Yeah, guess what? We've got a bit of a problem here. Okay. They've come up to amend this bill that started out 2 years ago, and they're pushing it into Congress now to amend Title 18 U.S. Code, provide a means by which non-residents of a state whose residents may carry concealed may also do so in this state. Maybe Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act. Generally, they're trying to amend U.S. Code of Laws by inserting 926C and 926D. Reciprocity for carrying certain concealed firearms. Notwithstanding any provision of any law, state, or political subdivision within, and subject to the requirements of this section, a person who is not prohibited by federal law from possessing, transporting, shipping, or receiving a firearm, who is carrying valid identification document containing a photograph of the person who is carrying a valid license or permit, so your driver's license would be your ID document. Pretty close, Mary, and we'll go through it. Yeah. Basically, they're stating that you can carry, again, you have valid photo ID and your permit is issued pursuant to the law of any state which permits the person to carry concealed or is entitled to carry concealed in which the state the person resides. Say it's a constitutional, you're entitled to carry concealed. As long as you've got photo ID, they may possess or carry a concealed handgun other than a machine gun. Fine, we've got to have limits somewhere. That has been shipped or transported in interstate or foreign commerce in any state that has any statute under which the residents may apply for a license or permit to carry a concealed firearm. Well, we know in any state you can apply, so that pretty much opens up all 50. And does not prohibit the carrying of concealed firearms by residents of the state for lawful purposes. Okay, so let's look at California. They allow their residents to apply, and they do not prohibit carrying by residents of their state for lawful purposes. So, it shall not be construed to supersede any laws of the state to permit private persons or entities to prohibit restriction and possession of firearms on their property. That's the private property argument. It's your house. You can make your rules in your house. If you don't want me coming in carrying concealed, you can say so. If you don't want to allow me to have a firearm in your house, that's fine. Don't expect me to come there. Don't expect me to be there. You're going to do that. Much like businesses. There was a pizza place that was here in Greenville. I liked their pizza. I liked their food. Really good food. We went there one day. It was a group of 2 or 3 of us, and I was carrying a little pocket rocket. It was summertime. We were going to go down and get some pizza. We get there, and there's a big no concealed weapons on the door. I looked at everyone there, and I was like, well, I guess I'm out. And they're like, what do you mean? We went up the road to all-you-can-eat sushi place instead and had a really, really good meal. And I sent them an email, and I said, guys, what is it? I get the fact that you may be anti-2A, anti-gun, not a big fan. But when I said, well, we just don't think guns are appropriate. I said, I get that, but I was also doing other errands. I ran a bank drop for my business, and I tend to carry if I'm wearing pants. So from that standpoint, you told me at the door, I've got to either A, leave it unsecured in my car, put it in a safe in my car, which I have the ability to do, but was not going to. And it pretty much got us off to a really bad foot on our, customer relationship that you don't trust me. And they said, well, you really think you need it? I said, it's not whether I need it or not. I was going to wear it. I wear it everywhere. I do it everywhere. I make 10 stops sometimes when I'm up in town running errands for the business. There were a couple of us together running errands. We met some other friends. We were going to have a nice dinner or a nice late lunch, I guess. I said, yeah, we went to the sushi place, just to let you know. Yeah, by the way, that business went out of business. And I'm not taking joy in that. I'm not happy that they were losing their business and losing their job. But you wonder, imagine it was like, nobody carrying a knapsack allowed. Nobody carrying a book bag allowed. God knows we can sneak in the book bag, kitchen knives, razor blades, flamethrowers. Hey, yeah. I mean, look at the New York City subways. They figured out gun control in New York, but you got freaking psychos walking around with kitchen knives this long. Yeah. So again, does it make it safer? No. But back to this. So they can, anywhere that has a statute that allows the residents of the state to apply for a permit to carry, does not permit the carrying of residents, okay? And again, shall not be construed to supersede laws that for private property, prohibit restriction of firearms on any state or local government property, installation, building, base, or park. Again, this is the libraries, the courthouses, okay? A person who carries or possesses a concealed handgun in accordance with subsections A and B may not be arrested or otherwise detained for violation of any law or any rule or regulation of a state or any political subdivision thereof, New York City political subdivision, related to the possession, transportation, carrying of firearms, unless there is probable cause to believe that the person is doing so in a manner not provided for in this section. Presentation of facially valid documents as specified in subsection A is prima facie evidence that the individual has a license or permit as required. And this is really good. When a person asserts this section as a defense in any criminal proceeding, so if I'm in another state and they say, well, we charge you. And I say, well, my defense is that I have this valid document. Well, we're charging you anyway. The prosecution shall bear the burden of proving beyond a reasonable doubt that the conduct did not satisfy these conditions, A and B. And when a person successfully asserts this section as a defense in a criminal proceeding, the court shall award the prevailing defendant attorney's fees. So, again, federal law. When I say I'm asserting this defense and they decide they're going to take me to court anyway, and so at court, my attorney says, whoa, Mr. Sullivan had these documents. What's going on? And the judge says, yeah, he did successfully assert that. Okay. Now my attorney's got a big bill and the prosecution's going to pay it. Yeah. Imagine consequences for doing something stupid. If they attempt to infringe my rights, hey, they can do it. But federal law states with the fee shifting here that they are going to pay for my attorney. And that not only takes the burden out of my wallet, but how much do you want to bet some of the Pro 2 attorneys are going to be very, very willing to take these cases, knowing that they're not relying on their client to get paid, that they're getting paid from the government on the other side, whatever a reasonable attorney's fee is in that jurisdiction. A person who is deprived of any right, privilege, or immunity secured by this section under color of any statute, ordinance, regulation, custom, or usage in any state or political subdivision thereof, may bring an action in an appropriate court against any other person, including state or political subdivision thereof, who causes the person to be subject to the deprivation for the damages or other appropriate relief. Ooh. So if they come after and deprive me of my right under some, I can go after them. They're putting teeth in this bill. They're putting big teeth in this bill. We got to hope we get it. The court shall award a plaintiff prevailing in section action damages and such other relief as the court deems appropriate, including attorney's fees. The term identification means a document made or issued under the authority of the U.S. government, a state or political subdivision of a state, which, when completed with information concerning a particular individual, is a type or intended commonly accepted for the purpose of identification. Handgun, any magazine for use in a handgun and any ammunition loaded into the handgun or its magazine. What's that? Your state doesn't want us carrying jacketed hollow points? Sorry, that's ammunition. And under this, if you go after me for my ammunition, you're paying my attorney's fees when I win. Magazine. Do you see a 10 round, 9 round, something else? You know, more than a handful is wasteful? No. Any magazine. So if I happen to have a 35 round magazine that just fits in the bottom of my Glock really well, would that cover it? Yep. Yeah. Go on here. Person who possesses or carries a concealed handgun under Section A shall not be subject to the prohibitions of Section 922Q with respect to that handgun. Possessing or carrying concealed handgun in a state under subsection A may do so in any of the following areas in that state that are open to the public. The national park system. All national parks just became full carry. A unit of the National Wildlife Refuge System. That's a pretty good area. Public land under the jurisdiction of the BLM or the Bureau of Land Management. Yeah, you gotta specify which BLM we're talking about. That's a lot of, land in our country. Land administered and managed by the Army Corps of Engineers. Land administered and managed by the Bureau of Land Reclamation. Anything that's managed by the Forest Service. So, any one of these where, again, you may decide, go off the grid, go camping, go here, go there, you no longer have to worry about whether you can carry or not. If you can carry in your home state, you can carry in all those federal places. Done. Kind of nice. Kind of very nice. The table sections for such chapters amended by inserting the item after 926C, the following: reciprocity for the carrying of certain concealed firearms. And then this is basically the severability. If one part of it is ruled unconstitutional, it can go on. Now, this has not been voted in yet or passed. Once it gets passed, it can be voted in. It's got to make through the House, through the Senate, and signed by the president. Now, Don J, he has already said that, he's on board with this. He's already definitely in his campaign kind of told those of us in the 2A world that, he wants to support us in this. Now, I know his record has been a little questionable at times and maybe a little spotty at times. And I know he's had a couple of little snippets here and there that he's done stuff that didn't work out real well. He did get involved, unfortunately, his last term with the bump stock ban. That was a fail on his part. I think he knows it. I'm going to say this. First of all, Donald Trump grew up in New York City, Queens kid. He's not in the firearm 2A culture. He's really not his world. I think Don Jr. has talked to him a lot since then. As much as the people in this room know and the people on this channel know that this was not a good lead to follow when he dealt with the bump stocks, he did follow the lead of the NRA on the bump stocks. The NRA said it was no big deal. They'd go ahead and ban them and nobody would care. Now, should he have listened to the NRA? We can have that discussion. He listened to, again, he's a boomer. What are we thinking? He's like 25, 30 years older than me, so he would listen to the NRA as a national authority. I think if he had called SAF or NAGR or GOA or one of the more contemporary gun rights groups, he might have gotten better information. Unfortunately, he didn't. He did, he followed the lead of the NRA on the bump stock ban. I don't think he's going to know independently. And when he follows the lead of the NRA, I agree with you. He is definitely kind of a question mark. But I think when you look at his frame of reference, and again, the bump stock ban was one of his big, he stepped on his shorts with a set of golf cleats and twisted, and we all know it, and us in the 2A spectrum know it. The problem was he went to who he thought would be the authority, and they jumped on board. Remember, the NRA said the bump stock ban was no big deal. So, yeah, that was kind of the people who led him in a bad direction. And he's since, I think, learned not to listen to them. And I think Don Jr. is much more of a 2A guy, and I'm sure they've talked since that little oops on his part. So, yeah, that's where we sit with that. And it's really kind of interesting. And the reason it is so interesting to me especially is that's in the House of Representatives. Well, we have to also get that through the Senate. Well, we've got some people trying to push it in the Senate as well. Now, one of the people who is trying to push it in the Senate, he has been a little bit spotty, and we'll talk about him too, because, again, I believe in covering it as well as I can. Some of the people trying to push it in the Senate, one of the ones involved is, as you see, the first name there, Senator John Cornyn after Texas. Now, John Cornyn, he's got a little history, and we know John Cornyn, and he had wanted to be the Republican leader in the Senate, and he had a really rough time with that because a lot of us pushed back against him. Do you know why we pushed it back against him? Well, he was one of the people who went along with the bipartisan Safer Communities Act, the biggest gun control win that the Biden administration got. John Cornyn was on board with it. Now, I'm not going to call Cornyn out too hard, but again, he's an older guy. He's wanting to keep schools safe. Yeah, honestly, keep schools safe. Let teachers arm up. Secure the buildings. Harden the targets, for God's sakes. But in a moment of stupidity or weakness or whatever you want to say, yeah, John Cornyn went ahead and bought in on that. And so when he wanted to be the leader in the Senate, a lot of the 2A groups said no. That you're gun grabbing rhino prick and we don't like you anymore. And his hope to get promoted kind of got dashed. So now, he and Ted Cruz, the senators of Texas, Tillis out of North Carolina, Chuck Grassley, are introducing concealed carry reciprocity bill in the Senate. And they have about 40 or so senators on board with it. Try to blow this up so you can see it a little bit better. If you can't see it again, I posted it over on the locals group because, again, I try to let y'all see as much as I can, try to be as open and transparent as I can here when we cover these things. U.S. Senators John Cornyn and Ted Cruz, Republicans out of Texas, and Tom Tillis out of North Carolina. Tommy Tillis is also one who went on board with that bipartisan Safer Communities botched train wreck. And so, yeah, Mary, I won't necessarily say he's a rhino. I will say at some point they made mistakes, and Cornyn and Tillis bought in on that stupid mess with Biden. And, they allowed him to get his gun control win. And, of course, it happens right in the aftermath of a school shooting when everyone's screaming for kids to be safe. And I want kids to be safe. I don't think gun laws know how to do it. We can all agree with where we need to get to. Sometimes they don't agree with how we want to get there. There's different approaches. So guess what? Yeah, the Lone Star State has championed Second Amendment. Yeah, John, you didn't champion it a couple years ago. Senator Cornyn, the legislation will reduce unnecessary burdens for law-abiding citizens and allow them to carry concealed in every state that permits it. And I'm grateful for the overwhelming support of my fellow Republican colleagues in this common sense bill. Now, I'm a transactional person. John Cornyn may vote on 30, 40 bills a year. He may vote a few times in stuff that I absolutely hate. But does that mean when he does something I'd like, I won't sit there and clap for him? As long as he's doing something we agree with, we clap for him and support him. Because you know what? I will reward good behavior with support. I will reward good behavior with, hey, nice job on this. Now, it doesn't mean I've absolved you from your mess, playing games with Biden. On the other side of that coin, if you're coming around, you're going to play for our team, I can get over what happened in the past. I'm still going to watch you. But Cornyn, Cruz, Grassley, Tillis, right up the road here in North Carolina. Yeah, kind of funny because, I used to live in North Carolina. I've still got a lot of friends up there. And I know several of them who sent letters to Mr. Tommy Tillis when he was going along with Biden stuff, saying, hey, just want you to know, hope you enjoy being a pariah because you're going to lose votes. You keep doing this. So now, okay, he's coming around too. If they're coming around and they're playing for our team today, I'll take it. Yeah. Now, next time around, they do something wrong, I'll cut them loose. Rights protected in the Second Amendment are foundational to a free society and preservation of individual liberties, said Senator Cruz. I'm proud to co-sponsor this bill, which champions the rights of law-abiding gun owners and ensures those rights are protected. Responsible gun owners shouldn't have to jump through hoops to exercise their constitutional right when visiting other concealed carry states. Well, every state has concealed carry at some level or not, so all of them. Bill would reduce confusion, legal inconsistencies for law-abiding Americans, while also respecting states' rights to set their own laws, said Senator Grassley. As a strong supporter of the Second Amendment, proud to introduce it. And again, when we look down through here, who is on board with it? Well, we have Majority Leader John Thune, who got his position because, well, no one was pushing for Cornyn. Senator Kevin Creamer, Tommy Tuberville, etc., all the way through. Check these out. Look at them. You got 2 senators from every state. Make sure both of yours are on here, especially if they consider themselves to be Republicans. Now, I checked my state. Yep, I got Lindsey Graham here. Got old Lindsey. And look down a little bit further, and yes, I've got Senator Tim Scott. I'm 2 for 2 in South Carolina. If you've got a senator who considers themselves, Republican, considers themselves pro-rights, boom. We look beyond. This legislation is endorsed by the NRA, NSSF, National Shooting Sports, Gun Owners of America. Wow. They got some pretty good ones there. GOA and I are definitely on board. Yep. I agree with you, Mary. You've put it so well. All school shootings prove gun laws don't work. Yes. And again, if you want to come up with a law to stop school shootings, just make murder illegal. Because that would work, right? Oh, wait, no. Gun-free zones, they keep people from bringing guns. No, they keep law-abiding people from bringing guns. Criminals laugh at the sign and see it as a soft target. We know that drill. Common sense legislation, again, very much, this isn't even the full text of the bill. This is an article on it. But simply, it allows individuals with concealed carry privileges in their home state to exercise those rights in any other state that has concealed carry laws, which they all do. Treats state-issued concealed carry permits like a driver's license. Who said that? Where an individual can use their home state license to drive in another state, but must abide by the other state's speed limit, and protect state sovereignty by not establishing a national standard. Now, this is big. The reason is it doesn't establish a national standard. I want you to think about this. Anything the government does, the bigger the government that does it, the more screwed up, contorted, expensive, and otherwise backwards it becomes. Let's look. If you're dealing with your local government, your local mayor's office, to go get a building permit or a permit to, put a pool in the backyard, chances are that's not as bad as if you had to apply to the feds for it. It would be 72 pages of paperwork, diagrams, documents, and require an engineering study. So we keep this at the smallest possible level. We don't have to go through get a special federal permit. They don't have to have a bunch of laws, a bunch of expense. And they've even said if your state allows you to carry on a constitutional carry basis, your constitutional rights should be nationwide. So this could be really, really nice. Personally, it may cost me a few students. I'm fine with that. The trade-off is totally worth it. Right now, I still talk to when people ask me, well, we don't need a permit in South Carolina, do we? Well, we don't need it here, but do you ever go to North Carolina, right across the border, about 60 miles north of here? You do? Well, you need it if you're going to go there. Otherwise, your constitution ends at the state line. So, yeah, it may cost me some students, but I'll take it. I will live with that. Again, I think this is a very, very, very positive development. Now, in all honesty, I have to be honest about one big thing. There's probably about a 10% chance this gets through both houses. But it shows that they're at least listening, they're trying, they're on the right track, they're on the right step, they're trying to do right. Let's see if they keep doing it. I think, again, we need to reward the good behavior and we need to punish the bad behavior. If your senator or representative is listed as one of the sponsors or co-sponsors or supporters of this bill, reach out and say, hey, I saw you supporting that. Thank you. If they're not, reach out and say, why aren't you supporting this? Driver's licenses, marriage licenses, adoptions, all travel across state lines like nothing. But there you go. Yeah, I see, Mel, what you're saying here in the chat. I understand your love-hate relationship with Lindsay. I have a love-hate relationship, quite frankly, with many of them. I will say this again. If they're doing something we like, we pat them on the head. If they're doing something stupid, they deserve a figurative kick in the pants. I'm fine with that. Oh, let's see, Mary, what have you got here? Making gun laws is like making a law says you can't break the law. What criminal will follow it? Yes. And I will say, it was the governor of Louisiana when they were passing their constitutional carry. And one of the reporters said, well, do you think this is really a good idea of just letting people carry guns without training or requirements or this, that, and the other? And he said, I'm only letting the law-abiding ones carry it. The criminals are already doing it. And she said, what do you mean? And he said, the lack of constitutional care, the requirements for permits and classes and everything else, that's not affecting the criminals. They're carrying anyway. I'm only putting law-abiding citizens on the same level. Garage Guy, I am in South Carolina, have been since about 1999. Prior to that, I worked up in Western North Carolina, up around the Buncombe, Madison, and Haywood County area. But yeah, I'm currently in upstate South Carolina, just south of North Carolina, if that makes any sense. There's a great way to explain it. North Carolina's sort of right up the road. I can go to North Carolina on a day trip just to go to my favorite restaurants in Hendersonville and pick up some fresh bagels up at Joey's New York Bagels. But yeah, those are the two things that have come out. Again, one's in the House, one's in the Senate, and you can actually dig in and look at those two. And you know what? If they're trying to do right, I'll give them credit. And they are in this one. And so we definitely, again, if your folks are on there, pat them on the po-po and say, hey, nice job. Way to go. Let's keep going down this road. Because maybe when they realize that the 2A lobby actually, is on board with them and will support them. Because, hey, look at here. Let's see. I find this link across. This is the one for South Carolina. Let's see. They've come through now. Like I said, they've got about 150 co-sponsors going through. So we'll see who's all in there. And with a little bit of luck and a little bit of, getting things done, it's at least showing that, you know what, we're trying to get this started. Primarily sponsored by Richard Hudson out of North Carolina in the house. And again, it's got 150 supports. So we need to get that up. We need to take care of that. We're, again, they're, 10% or less chance of passing now. But, hey, maybe they realize. Maybe they wake up. Oh, Apocryphal, I see you wandering on in. Good evening. Hope you're doing wonderfully. I know we're down here in beautiful scenic South Carolina dealing with our great snowpocalypse of the year. I get to go back and play in the work, tomorrow. Oh, that'll be fun. Hopefully, folks, y'all try to be nice and give us a little bit of a break. Apocryphal, just because you happen to miss it, we know we always appreciate you stopping by. I'm going to replay our little public safety announcement that we did earlier today because I thought it was very, very warranted. I am not telling people that they're bad, wrong, or evil if they want to carry in their pocket. What I am going to say is please, please, please do it with a proper holster or something that can actually protect the trigger of your firearm, because this guy here, he had a really, really bad day. It could have been much worse, but am I familiar with Lion Quest Fitness Channel? Really good. I am not. I'll look into it. Is he on Rumble or YouTube or X? Because we're running all three right now. But I'll definitely look into them. And if they want to do some collab stuff or do some range stuff, I'd definitely go in on it. Yeah, Apocryphal, this one was one of our earlier little PSAs about the dangers of carrying, in your pocket. There are great pocket holsters out there. Again, I know Uncle Mike's has one. I think Sticky has some of them, these little pistol pouches. And number one, it protects your clothing from rubbing. Number two, it kind of keeps it from printing. And number three, and the big one is, it protects you from your trigger, sort of guards the trigger from accidental things happening. And this gentleman, well, he might need one.
And choices we got in life, those were your choices.
Yeah, those were his choices. Again, the fact that it went to the outside of his leg and not the inside femoral artery area is a big win for him. No, Garage Guy, I will check out that Lion Quest channel on YouTube. Hey, like I said, if he or she or it or they, I don't know who they are, but is local, and I'll definitely catch up with them. And hey, who knows what we may end up working with, because I'm all for collaboration. We've actually had a lot of firearms instructors come on the channel at times, and I'm trying to get more lined up. My work cycles right now have gotten a little bit crazy. I found out I work one day on, I'm off 2 days, and I found out like a week ago, and you can plan that out. Work off, work off. Yeah, I found out about a week ago. Oh, you're going on a different shift. So my entire like XOO through the calendar, redo. Fortunately, it's a digital calendar. If it had been a paper calendar, I would have been really upset. If it had been a fancy custom planner like somebody in this chat has, yeah, that would have been like tragic, wouldn't it have been? Speaking of people in the chat, definitely appreciate y'all coming out tonight. And I want to give a big shout out. And again, one of those sort of keeping our thoughts and prayers, a gentleman by the name of Dexter. If you're not familiar with Dexter's story, Dexter was an otherwise absolutely, totally law-abiding citizen. He was in the city of New York, unfortunately for him, and he began experimenting with firearms. He wanted to learn how they worked. He was curious about them. He ordered some parts online, and after, subsequent to him ordering these things, and he wasn't ordering like, auto sears or anything else. He was like ordering frames and trigger groups because he was interested. As an engineer, you take things apart, you put them back together. Well, he was a member in good standing of a firearms club in Manhattan. So again, this guy is like the peak of law abiding because they do background checks to join clubs up there. Yeah. The federal government did a raid on the place he bought some of his parts from. They got his address, gave it to NYPD. ATF kicked down his door, and he was put away and taken to prison for something that I could do totally legally on my desk and show you how to do it, at least on the free channel of Rumble. So, yeah, got to give Dexter a big shout out because what's happened to him, he's still in Rikers Island. They're still in prison. He's been incarcerated for his 2A rights since May 14th of 2024. And you may know him on the Twitter feed as Carbon Mike. He does have a GoFundMe up, and they're still raising money for his legal battle. He was convicted. He's been jailed. They are appealing. They've got some of the national organizations coming in to sort of cover him. You know, again, this is right here why, you know, I don't live up in New York anymore. It's one of many reasons. But beyond that, you know, having talked to Dexter before this went to trial in Twitter Spaces, having texted him on here, at the time he had mentioned coming on here, and I said, I would love to have you on, brother, but I don't want you to accidentally say anything that would hurt your case. So, you know, going public to record statements, yeah, that's tragic. Nicest guy. I'll be honest with you, if they let him out tomorrow and he said, man, I want to get out of here, I need a place to live, I'd be like, dude, fly on down, I'll pick you up at the airport, I will show you around. I will help you find a place here. The nicest, most decent, well-mannered, well-speak, you know, guy you'd want to meet. Who says, I'm curious. Read his story. It's a sad one. So keep him in your thoughts as well, because that's just, you know, those of us who live in free states, we, you know, again, have to occasionally sort of keep up with what the people are doing in the not so free states and what's happening to our friends there. And hopefully we can get Dexter out of jail, get his appeals heard, whatever it's going to take. And that way we can do this and, hey, work from there. That's all I've got for tonight, folks. I'm sorry to cut it a little bit short, but yeah, it's I've got to go back to work in the morning, so it was definitely, you know, I wanted to get this out. I will tell you that on the other channel over on Real Hard Truths, we do a little bit more hard news and commentary. I've been going over and I've got a lot to say about California because, again, having lived in North Carolina and knowing a little bit about mountains and wildland fire suppression and wildland urban interface firefighting, Blue Ridge Parkway, you know, I may or may not have done a little bit of it in my career. That point, I will just say this. We're going to be doing a couple of streams over there about California and about some of the things going on that may be kind of informational because I've already heard things come out in the mainstream media that they give you this much of the story and none of the meaning. They're great for doing that. So that's going to be over on Real Hard Truths on the other channel. Probably have one stream next week and then work from there. Just because, you know, if we're going to talk about this stuff as adults and we're going to talk about issues as adults, you know what? We need to actually discuss it with all the information. Make real decisions. Like with these. Here's the whole bill. But folks, I appreciate you coming out. Y'all have a wonderful evening. And I will leave you with this. Hope you have a great night. Please be safe. And again, if you happen to have these, if you don't have to go out, how about we don't? Bye.
In shadows we stand tall, heartbeats echo through the hall. I